be open-minded, make connections, network with people, say yes, except for Sarai, maybe needs to say no a couple times, but say yes to things, say yes to opportunities, say yes to going to meet with someone, because you never, obviously, we're proof of the fact that you never know what can stem from it. So
hey everyone, we're back! It's Cup of Queens, Paige and Sarai, and we're so excited to have the owners of Vella Kids, Ashley and Elle. Vella Kids is a women-owned kids clothing boutique made for busy moms.
These women both left their careers as successful attorneys to follow their passion and do something that truly filled their cup. Ashley and Elle talk with us about the importance of saying yes to new opportunities, putting family above all else, and always believing in yourself. This episode was so much fun, and we absolutely love talking with these two.
So grab your cup and enjoy!
Well, we're so excited to be here. Thanks for inviting us on.
Of course, yeah. I mean, we are so excited to hear about everything that you guys are doing. I feel like we know a little bit about the story on how Vella came about, but I'm so excited to actually hear it from you guys firsthand. Yeah. So, I mean, tell us about yourselves, each other, and what led you to this.
Well, I'm Elle. I am from Fargo, grew up in Fargo. I went up to Grand Forks for college and law school, came back afterwards, and I practiced law for a couple years when Ashley came into my life. Interestingly, we, Sarai, as you maybe know, we went to high school together, went to college together, went to law school together, and we never really knew each other that well, but reconnected with Vella, and Ashley will tell that story. But yeah, then I'll let Ashley kind of introduce herself and say how Vella came to be.
Yeah, so I'm Ashley, similar story to Elle. I left my career in 2020, so it was actually before COVID that I decided to leave, but it was one of those things where it was perfect timing. At the time, I didn't really know what I was going to do. I knew that I had like certain passions, and one of those was trying to figure out a way to bring children's clothing to people, because it wasn't, I mean, we had a couple of options, but there just wasn't the style that we were going for. So when I left, I had the idea of just helping my husband with some of his deals. And then it came to be where it was, let's just start something online with the hope of one day doing a brick and mortar. But honestly, it was so far-fetched at that point, just with, you know, how hard it is to do, but also the fact that it was the middle of a pandemic. And so when Elle reached out to me, she reached out to me and was just kind of asking, you know, what was your experience leaving the legal field? And best decision I ever made. But we just got talking. And at that point, Vella was already an online store, and it was, you know, do you want to be my partner? Let's do this. And it didn't take her very long. She said yes right away. And then it was, oh boy, now we're doing this. How do we do this? And it was just a learning experience from there. And yeah, so that's how we got started.
That's so cool. I love that you guys just clicked right away and you're like, okay, we're going for it. We're going to do this. That's really cool.
Right.
I love the like complete 180 of career paths.
Yeah.
We surprisingly, and I think it has something to do with like the entrepreneurial mindset, because we've heard similar stories where people just have this moment that they're like, this is not at all what I want. And they do a complete 180 into a different direction. So, you know, what was that moment for you guys where you either just felt like you weren't on the path that you wanted to be? Because I think a lot of people, especially kind of in our age range, experience moments of that. Like, what am I doing? Am I supposed to be here, or where am I going? So what was that moment for you guys?
For me, it was when I had my daughter, I think, is what really put things into perspective for me. While I was practicing law, I was doing it. It was fine, but you know, I realized that it wasn't really getting me excited but it didn't really matter. I was like, I'm just going to keep doing it. You know, you put your head down and you keep working. And when I had my daughter, that really put things into perspective for me. And I would leave her every day and I'm thinking, what am I doing? What am I why am I leaving this beautiful little girl at home when I want to be spending time with her? And not only am I leaving her behind, but I am leaving her behind to go work a job that really isn't like filling me up and making me excited. And, you know, there's a space for both. And so that really changed the way that I was looking at things. And so that's when I really thought long and hard about how I was spending my time. And that was when one day I just came home and I told my husband, I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's not worth it to me. I want to be with Parker more. And that's when I reached out to Ashley, because I knew that she had left the field about a year prior. And I said, like, and I didn't really even know that much about Vella, but I just wanted her advice and to see like how she did it, how she made the cut. And so that, long story short, was what it was for me. But
yeah. And I think like when Elle and I met, it was one of those things where it wasn't, hey, I want to come join Vella. It was like, hey, I want your experience, because it seems like you're way happier now. And you don't really realize how like pursuing your passion might make you feel really good, but it's a lot of work. And so that was one thing I'm like, Elle, I want you to know, like, it's not all glamorous. Like, it's hard. Like, you work more hours than ever, but no. So when it finally hit me is I actually loved my career. I loved what I did. If I ever went back to law, I don't think I would ever practice any other area. Loved what I did on a daily basis with my clients. The thing I didn't love is that my kid was the first one dropped off at daycare in the morning, to the point where he would actually go to a different room because his teachers wouldn't be there early enough. And so it was like the early of the early. The only other ones that were there were like the parents working overnights. And then was almost always the last one picked up, to the point where it was like rushing there and I was still late. And so it just wasn't really what I had pictured for raising children. And then my husband traveled a lot, and so I couldn't go with. And it was hard to like almost watch your life just like pass by you. And like the dreams that you had of having a family were getting harder and harder because of our long hours. And like with Elle, we had court schedules that we couldn't change. And so when the judge would say, you have to be here for trial, well, you're going to trial. And it doesn't matter if you had a vacation planned or if you have some other commitment, like, you're going. And so that was really hard. And that was kind of my turning point of, you know, this, I love what I do, but it's not filling my cup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's really awesome. Just both of you guys recognizing that and knowing that there's other options and how can you become more fulfilled. So talk to us a little bit about women in business. So obviously in Cup of Queens, we interview both men and women, but we really just love to hear from you guys and what it means to you to be a woman in business in today's day and age.
So we have experience, you know, being a women in business in two different industries. And our experience are a little bit different in each, but overall, I would say, you know, being a woman in business requires you to be confident and be proud in your abilities, especially in male dominated fields. But also, you know, being able to ask for what you want and, you know, whether that's a promotion, whether that's a raise, and having the confidence to go after that, and saying yes to opportunities, right? Like saying yes to things that are outside of your box and going for things that maybe seem out of reach. But also kind of like we're talking about, I would say it requires a bit of balance for those of us who are moms, because you have this family life, you have this business that you are so passionate about. So it requires balance, but it just requires us to find that balance that's right for ourselves. It's different for everybody. And I think an important part of that is not doing what others would expect you to do. You know, the stereotypes, what you should spend more time with your kids, you should spend more time with your business, you know, just focusing on what works best for you in your life is really important. And again, the overlying theme here is confidence, having the confidence to just say, this is what I'm going to do. And this is how I'm going to spend my time. And then finally, I think like for Ashley and I, part of being a woman in business is supporting other women in business. Supporting other women entrepreneurs is really important to us. You know, we go out of our way to collaborate with women-owned businesses and stuff like that. So that's another part of it is supporting the other women who are doing the same thing that you're doing.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's really great.
Yeah, and I think, it's different. Like when you say, "Hey, I want to figure out something else so I can have a family," that's not normal from anyone other than women. I mean, men, yes, they do it, but it's just not as common. And I think like it doesn't matter what you want to do, right? Like my passion is business and my kids. It's not just my kids, it's not my business. And so you have to find that good mix. It doesn't mean you need to be a mom who's like, "Hey, I want to stay home and I also want to run a business." You can do both. And I think that's where it's hard, is when you are trying to be a working mom. Like for me, for instance, I would say that I'm working more hours than I ever have. But the nice thing is I can go to my kids' swimming lesson in the middle of the day. Or if I want to come home and have lunch with them, I come home and have lunch with them. Or I sit with them in the morning and I, still interact with them. And so I think that's really where being a woman in business, it doesn't have to look like the normal, 9 to 5 or whatever it may be. And if you're starting a business, yeah, it takes a lot of work, but you have the flexibility to be able to be there for those moments. And that's where I view it as different, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sure.
Women are the like masterminds of multitasking. Like they always say that. You always like have photos of celebrity women and they're carrying like 12 things with the kid. Like you just know how to do it. And I think to your point, it's so important to be able to do whatever it is that you love, whether it is being in law and being a mom, or whether it's owning, a storefront and now a brick and mortar, which kind of brings me to my next point is talk to us a little bit about how Vella has evolved and maybe give us, a couple of those landmark moments where things really started to take a shift, or what you have seen within the progression of your guys' business.
Yeah. And when we started, it just didn't make sense to be a brick and mortar, and I was not ready to tackle that one alone either. So online made sense. I don't know that it was necessarily like the pandemic getting better, ending, or anything like that. Obviously it's still an issue, but I think really where we noticed it is I had the perfect timing of Elle coming into my life and saying, "Hey, I want to know more about what you do." She showed an interest in it, and it was like, "Hey, maybe this is the time to take the leap." And with just everything getting a little bit better, it made sense. And I don't really know how to explain it. It was just like that feeling that you get. But like I said, knowing that I had somebody else to do it with, it felt right.
Mm-hmm. And I want to just also say, like, this is kind of a funny antidote now that we are where we are. But I had messaged Ashley just asking the questions I told you guys about. And she was like, "Yeah, like best thing I ever did, but like, do you want to meet for drinks and like hear more about it? And I can give you some advice." And I was like, yeah, sure. And this was like a week in advance, right? And we all like do that thing where everything sounds so great, and then the night comes and you're like, "Oh my God," like,
yes,
you know what I mean?
I don't want to go. I don't want to do it.
We both, which we found out later, we both like looked at our husbands and were like, "I want to cancel. Like, I don't want to go." But, and this is corny, whatever. I felt, and any other circumstance, you guys, I promise you I would have canceled, because I'm the queen of that. I'm like, "Oh, sounds great." And then I don't want to do it. But there was something inside of me that was like, I've got to go. And I can't describe it other than like this feeling. And then afterwards, I was like, I remember calling my husband and being like, "That was so great." And like, I just knew that we had like a certain chemistry that we got along well, but like, I was just excited. And she didn't even ask me to like join her at that point. Right. But I just felt like it was the start of something, and in a way that I can't really describe other than just like this little like feeling inside that I was like, "Okay, this was the right decision." I don't know. It was really cool.
Like new hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. New hope is a great way to put it. And all of us can relate to that. Like we've all been in that position before where it's like, no matter how much you love the person, even it could be your best friend.
For sure.
I just don't feel like going out. But it is, the stories like this are the reason why I have the worst FOMO ever and can't
no. You're like, "Oh, this could be the one
this
time."
Could be, like, so this is not what I needed to hear, right? Because I have the opposite problem. But but that is actually so cool. And so how long after the fact that when you guys met, when did like the brick and mortar take place?
So
Oh gosh, Elle, I don't even remember when we met.
we met in like June of 2021. And then we got together a couple more times. And I think she called me over to her house like in July and was like, do you want to come over? And I said, sure. And I got there and she had like a little.
She didn't cancel.
Well, by that point I was like, okay, whatever. But
Yeah.
she had a little piece of paper and she's like, I want to open a brick and mortar and like, do you want to be my partner? And I was like, yeah, I do. And she had like a little sheet of paper where she had drawn out like a floor plan and like, this is what we could do. And it was just like so exciting. So that's where it kind of spiraled from there. But then we got into our first space, which is at West Acres in August. I think it was the last week of August. And
September.
No, it was August because then I quit. My last week of work was that first week of
Oh,
September.
yeah. We opened at end of September. Yeah.
Yep. And then we spent that entire month kind of setting up our store and
the entire month.
Mhm.
So let's make sure that is noted. It wasn't like a 2-night deal, which I think
it was the entire month.
I mean, 12 hours a day.
Yeah. We probably should have moved to bed in, honestly, but it's fine.
So no, it was a ton of work, but it was super fun. And it really happened pretty quick, actually. And then, we opened our doors at the end of September and the rest is history, as they say.
That is the best story, actually. That's so fun. So, okay, now that you guys have been in business for a couple of years, what are some of your favorite do's and don'ts, or even just like do's and don'ts for life in general that other women can relate to?
So as far as the business life, I would say the biggest do is to always remember like what you do and who you do it with. And so for us, we're really blessed that we've never had an issue with hiring, staffing. It's always been pretty easy to the point where I'm like, are we getting lucky or are we this good at it? But really what it boils down to is, and the feedback we've received is like, we treat people like people, they're family, they're not numbers, they're not employees, so I think the biggest do is to really remember who is helping you live your dream. And that is the people that are on our floor every day, all day long. And they are the ones that make it so that we can be behind the scenes doing stuff from home and being able to be around our kids more. And they are the face of Vella. And so it's really important that you remember that and that you treat your people well, and they will in return treat you well. And so that's my biggest do. I would say from a personal standpoint, it's hard for everybody because like I can say, go follow your dreams. But the reality of it is most people can't just like leave, quit their job and start a venture that is not going to make them money right away. And so I think for me, it's following your passion, following your dream and always staying true to that. And if you can't leave your job right away, your 9-to-5 right away, then, start figuring out those little things that can push you towards your goal, and slowly you'll get there. And it might not happen overnight. It might not happen in a year or two, but it'll eventually happen. And you just really have to stay true to that.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, and this can go business and personal life, but a do is to ask for help. And we really were starting from the ground up and most literal way possible. And we didn't know a lot, and we didn't know what we didn't know. And we had to kind of figure it out as we went. And for Ashley and I, being attorneys, and so by nature being know-it-alls, I think we both thought like, oh, we're doing, and quickly we learned that like we don't. And so asking for help, asking for guidance, is always super important in life and in business, and always seeking out people who can provide you with, that kind of knowledge. It's always valuable to listen to others and learn from others. And so my don't, I think, would be to don't worry about what people think, because that was a challenge for me. I was concerned about what my family would think. I was concerned about what, people were going to be, what was being said in the group chats about me, whatever. Did you hear Elle's quitting her job and she's opening a store? But you can't let that stop you, because when I think about if I had let the fear of that stop me, it just makes me really sad to think about. But you can't live your life for other people, and you can't please everyone no matter what you do. So it's important to be true to yourself and not even worry about what other people think about you and your choices.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great one.
That
and
is
it's
great.
very much easier said than done. So
It is. There's still
It's
times where it gets to me, you know, where I'm like, but you got to work on it.
you gotta work
I
on
need
it.
to like write that on a sticky note and tape it to my
know.
mirror so every day.
Affirmations,
Yeah.
yeah.
But that's
Well,
great to hear this, because it's like we all think that, like we
Totally.
all are thinking the same thing. Like you can't
Mhm.
know what people think, and so if like everyone just is on the same page, then I think it opens that floor to really do what you want to do and not have to worry about being held back.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. So, okay, so you guys start the store, you like dive right in. I think it is absolutely fascinating that you guys like didn't really know each other that well. I didn't realize that. So I think that is really cool and also really scary. And I think that you guys might have some really great advice on how to work together, like teamwork, and how to actually work with someone and build that relationship and build trust. So what are maybe some things that you guys how do you work together, and how did you get to the point where even though you guys didn't know each other so well, you knew that this was going to work?
Well, we definitely didn't know it would work. Like some days I'm still like, is this gonna work? No, I'm just kidding. We've always worked really well together since we started, and we did know of each other before. I know we had some cases that I don't know if it was my actual case, but I helped on a case that Elle was also on. So we had known that, like, we had known each other's professional background and how each other worked to a certain point. I don't know. I feel like maybe because we didn't start as really good friends, it's better. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we did. I will say that the very helpful thing for us was we kind of took the tasks, like we divided them out as far as categories, and we said like, hey, you're going to be kind of in charge of this part of the thing. You'll be in charge of this part of the business, and that really helped. And so we almost look at it as we each have our own duties, and then we can kind of delegate to each other and help on it. But that helps so you don't have too many cooks in the kitchen. And I don't know, we work well together. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I agree. And I think like part of it too, what Ashley said about us not being friends first, I think that was actually a positive in our partnership in a lot of ways, because it allows us to be more honest with each other probably from the get-go than if we were like best friends starting a business and then you're like, oh, I don't want to like hurt her feelings, or, you know, I don't want to do this or do that. And so we were able to communicate with each other honestly, I think, right off the bat, which was really healthy and ended up working out pretty well for us. But then also, yeah, like Ashley said, we know each other's professional backgrounds. And I think work ethic was never really a question because we both know what life was like before this. So we had a good sense of the work that the other had been putting in beforehand. So I don't know, we both probably maybe are not good people to give advice because we just like went for it. Like we don't have advice because like there was no thought process. We were just like, okay, no, I'm just kidding.
And we might have been one that happened overnight because it was something where it's like, oh, do you want to do it? Oh, sure. Like, no. Oh, are we sure we want to do it? What about this? What about that? It's like, let's just go for it and do it. And I mean, thankfully it worked, but it might have been luck.
No. I think, yeah. I mean, I think also we complement each other in a lot of ways. Like we have a lot of similar thought processes, and like a lot of we think alike in a lot of ways, but then, you know, her strengths are my weaknesses, and sometimes, you know, vice versa. And so we've really gotten to a place where, you know, we know how each other works because we talk to each other all the time. I mean, even though we weren't close from the get-go, when you start a business with somebody, we were basically living together our for the setting up. I mean, you get to know someone really, really fast. And so we kind of just figured it out as we went. And thankfully, it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time we went a day without talking. I'm pretty sure that even on vacations where it's like no service, pretty difficult to communicate with anybody. And it's still like, hey, so how's it going? You know, what's the store doing today? And checking in with each other. And it feels really weird if we don't talk. So we, like she said, you get really close when you're living with each other for over a month doing fit up. And then as you're running a business, and I mean, we talk probably, I don't know, on average, like 5 to 10 times a day.
Yeah.
I love it though. It just works.
Yeah.
So great.
Not to say that we haven't had our challenges, because like,
Right.
You know, I want to make it seem like, oh, it just fell into our laps, because we did, you know, we had to work on some things and work through things, but thankfully it has turned out the way that it has, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, when you have mutual respect, you do things in a constructive way. And so if there are issues or there's things you need to talk about, you communicate in a healthy manner, and you realize at the end of the day that you started a business with someone for a reason. And I don't know, it's just good.
Yeah.
That is awesome. It's honestly just inspiring that, you know, Elle, that one text that you sent turned into this. And I think
about, yeah.
That's
Still wondering how you had my phone number.
Yeah.
DMs.
Oh, did you DM me?
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So you slid into my DMs.
The truth comes out.
Yep.
DMs are working. They are changing lives.
They are.
We cannot deny that. But it's true, and it's really cool to see. And I think, I think there's a lot of people, going back to even what you were talking about before, like worried about what people think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could have easily been like, oh, is Ashley going to think this is super weird that I'm texting her, and not done it? And like that one little thought could have totally changed the whole trajectory of your life. So
for sure.
It's just wild to think about. It's absolutely
really
wild.
is.
I'm so happy that it worked out for you guys.
Yeah, us too.
We are too.
Oh, so what, like, is there any other advice that you guys can think of that you haven't said for people or women specifically that are unsure about maybe their current career path, or, you know, kind of what they're doing? What are some thoughts on that?
I think that keeping an open mind is always the most important thing, because when I was working and I wasn't happy with what I was doing, you know, I think I was so focused on my work that I didn't think about other possibilities. And you just gotta get through the day to day to day. But if you leave yourself open to anything and everything, those things you do attract those things. Those things come to you. If you think about the possibilities, it makes it more feasible. And then when these opportunities present themselves, you're more likely to, you know, take that chance, take that jump. So I think it's always super important to just be open-minded, make connections, network with people, say yes, except for Sarai, maybe needs to say no a couple times, but say yes to things, say yes to opportunities, say yes to going to meet with someone, because you never, obviously, we're proof of the fact that you never know what can stem from it. So that would be my little nugget of advice.
Yeah. And I think for me, I mean, obviously we're talking about our journey to become entrepreneurs, but just being unhappy with your job doesn't mean that you need to come up with a business to start. I mean, that's not the point that I want to get across to anybody at all. It's more figuring out what your passion is and following that. And maybe it's something similar to what you're doing or completely different. It doesn't really matter. And one person's journey isn't how everyone's has to look. And I think that was really important for me to realize, because a lot of the family and friends that I was around, they didn't understand why I would ever leave my job. And the criticism that you get from people, I mean, you don't wish upon your worst enemy. And so I think it's really important to just, like I said before, stay true to yourself, follow your passions, and realize that, you know, your journey doesn't look like everybody else's journey. And you have to figure out what yours looks like based on what you want, what you need, what's best for you and your your kids or your husband, but not what's best for other people, because people will try to put you into their little boxes and you're not going to fit there, and you shouldn't fit there. So I think that's my biggest piece of advice is you don't need to run out and start a new business, but follow whatever it is that you want to do.
Dang, you guys should write a book.
You should write
That
a
was
book.
so good.
You guys want to take over the podcast
Right.
a couple of days?
You guys got it. You seem like really good hosts.
Yeah. Once we find time.
Yeah, that would be the thing.
Oh, well, speaking of time, we have a really fun game. I was going to jump to that. So
I think we
Oh
should.
boy.
we didn't send this to you guys because it's so much more fun off the cuff. But so you've probably heard this or that. So it's this or that kid edition. And so whatever you guys
Tell
think,
us
just
what you
tell
think,
us,
why, and
if there's any explanation.
there's no wrong answer. Other people may have different thoughts on some of these, but we want to hear yours. That's why we're asking them.
Okay, so first one, neutrals versus colors.
And this could be for anything. So whether it's wardrobe, nursery, kids' rooms, anything.
Neutrals.
Yeah.
Easy.
I would agree. I was very curious to see what you guys were going to say, but
You can say anything. Neutrals for anything.
Yeah.
it's a classic.
Yes.
You can't mess
Yes.
it up. Yeah.
Nope.
Okay. Then I feel like I don't know.
I don't
Okay.
know that.
Theme or no theme, specifically for like your decor, nursery, whatever it might be.
Is neutral a theme?
Neutral can be a theme.
Yes.
Then theme. Otherwise, no theme.
Okay.
I think theme for me, that's how if I don't have a theme, especially when it comes to like decor, it's all over the place. So if someone needs to like narrow it down for me, I'm still trying to have Ashley help me with my decor, but I think theme, that just helps me process.
Yeah.
But otherwise I get too eclectic. Then it'd be all over the place.
Yep.
That's true.
Okay, what about like gender reveal? So finding out the gender or not.
Finding out the gender. I'd have to know.
Yeah, for sure. I am shocked about the number of people who come into the store buying gifts and they don't know the gender. I think it's becoming more popular now that people are like waiting to find out, which amazing surprise. I wish I could do it, but it's not in the cards for me. I have to know immediately.
Even when I know someone pregnant and they're not finding out, I'm like, can I find out? Just because now it's really bothering me.
Can you give me the letter? Like, can I?
Yeah, I won't tell you. I promise.
I have to tell you guys this, I'll make it quick, but when I was pregnant, my husband and I went to the ultrasound. We had the lady put it in the note, and then him and I were going to go home that night and like open it together. And so I went back to my office, and I'm not kid you not, I had the office called. I was going to call the doctor and tell them to tell me what the results were before I could not even wait hours. I did end up waiting, but I was this close to doing it. I just couldn't even stand it.
I think that's
We did genetic testing to find out early because I'm like, I can't wait 20 weeks. So I'm doing the 12 weeks where you find out everything. Like I have
it's already hard, like on this one side.
Yes.
Like there's no skill.
Yes, 100%.
Love it. Okay. This one I'm interested because I like see it a little bit, but not, I don't know, baby moon or no baby moon.
For me, was a no baby moon person, but that was just when I was pregnant, especially towards the end, like I wasn't going anywhere. But that is just me. I don't know.
I did one with one kid and I did it with the other. I feel like I could go either way on that one.
Yeah.
Maybe depending on how you feel.
How I feel, the climate. I mean, you don't want to go anywhere warm when you're like 8 months pregnant.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to do that.
That's a low question, I feel.
Put me in a freezer.
Okay, what about
Or just North Dakota in the winter.
literally, yeah. Okay, what about a unique name or more traditional?
I think so my daughter's name is Parker, which is it's a common name. I think it's maybe less common for girls. So I mean, I'm not one, I don't really would think I'd trend towards like unique, but maybe just like a little bit different. Like I don't want to name my daughter like a fruit or something, but
what about a vegetable?
I would maybe squash.
Russell.
Okay.
Don't get me excited. I might have to name Brussels root fruit.
What about you, Ashley?
Definitely more unique, but I lost that argument with my husband, so
Really?
that's okay. Well, the first one we agreed on, but yeah, the second he's like, those aren't even real names. I'm like, yes, they are. He goes, who do you know name that? I'm like, that's the point. Nobody.
What were some of your ideas?
So I really liked Brielle.
Oh, that's pretty.
Ainsley.
What was that?
Ainsley, but that was his response as well.
I heard that as a name.
Yeah, it was actually in The West Wing. Did you ever watch that show? Yeah. Anyway, so those are my two favorites, but I lost.
You got it.
It's okay though.
Board.
It's okay. I got to pick her middle name, so it's fine.
There you go.
And we love her first name, so it's fine. We're good.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, I feel like, okay, we have some other ones that I think we need to send you and have you guys send us your answers so we can share them on social.
Deal.
Because I think I could play this game all day. Now I'm like invested. I need to know. I just love talking about this stuff. I want to know what everyone's thoughts are. But we do have to finish with our last question. Tell us what a queen means to you. Maybe in like a little snippet, one sentence. What does a queen mean to both of you?
For me, I think a queen is someone who knows what she wants and goes after it unapologetically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say something similar. Living your dream for you, nobody else, and not letting the opinions of others get to you.
Preach.
Write a book. They gotta write a book. From an author. Or what is it? Somebody who writes it for you. It helps you with
Like
it. Yeah, something
like that.
You guys need to spread your knowledge.
Thank you guys so much. But everyone I know is going to want to connect with you guys, learn more, and shop, of course. So plug away. Tell us all the things.
So you can follow us on social media. That's where you get all of the kind of sneak peeks and then the first information on the new releases. We're downtown on Broadway, right across from Broadway Square, and then online at vellakids.com.
Amazing. We will link
everything. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Yeah, thank you.